Hello and welcome to Barbershop Books Story Time with Alvin Irby. That's me. Today we have a story that I think you might like. Today's story is called Who's the Biggest? Who's the biggest? Let's take a look at the cover and let's see if we can get an idea about what this story might be about. Well, the title is called Who's the Biggest? And I see two different types of animals on the cover. One is an insect. If you look really close, you might see it. It's a butterfly. And there's an elephant. Which one of these is the biggest? I know you know. Is the butterfly the biggest? Or is the elephant the biggest? Elephants are huge, and they even have a very big sound. Do you know what sound elephants make? It sounds kind of like this. Let's get into the story. Okay, who's the biggest? I am, trumpets the elephant to the butterfly. And look, do you see the elephant? The elephant is so huge that you barely even notice the butterfly. Do you see the butterfly? And for those of you who don't remember, an elephant does kind of make a sound that almost sounds kind of like a trumpet, maybe? Okay, you want to hear me make an elephant noise again? Okay, I'll do it. Just one more time. That was okay. All right, let's keep going. I am, whispers the tree to the squirrel. The tree whispered to the squirrel. Trees are pretty big, but sometimes trees can be small too. Do you see the squirrel? It's sitting on one of the branches. A baby tree, who maybe isn't a lot of years old, could be small. But there are some really old trees that can grow really tall. Let's see. I am, grunts the bear to the honey pot. Is the bear the biggest? The bear is looking at the tiny little honey pot. I wonder, do bears really like honey? Because in a lot of cartoons and a lot of movies and shows, bears always seem to like honey. But I've never met a real bear to ask them. I guess bears can't talk either. All right, let's see what happens next. I am, warns the hammer to the nail. Today's story is called Who's the Biggest? And so in the story, there's all these different things, and they keep saying, I'm the biggest. I am. And so on this page, the hammer says to the nail, I'm the biggest. And look, you can even see it. I feel like this story helps us think about kind of things that are small, things that are big. I am, murmurs the mountain to the bear. Even though a bear is really big, compared to a mountain is huge. So a big, tall mountain can make even a large bear seem small. Because guess what? A mountain is taller than a bear. Some bears even live on mountains. Do you see the bear? It's like all the way down here. It looks tiny. But the mountain, it looks really big. Do you see how tall it is? I am, gurgles the fish bowl to my goldfish. Who's the biggest? The goldfish or the fish bowl? Let's take a look. Well, there's the fish, the goldfish, and compared to this big fish bowl, it's pretty tiny, but the fish bowl is big. I am, hence the leaf to the ant. So on this page, we see the tiny ant and the big leaf. Which one is bigger? The big leaf. I am, smiles the flower to the bee. Who's the biggest? That's what we're trying to figure out. Every page in this entire story has two different things. One is big and the other one is not as big. Let's look. Here's a flower. Do you see the bee? It's buzzing zzz, right here. It's so tiny you can barely even see it. So the flower, definitely bigger than the bee. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're reading a story called Who's the Biggest? And so on every single page of the story, there's two different things, and we have to figure out which one is the biggest. I am, booms the garden to the flower. Look, do you see the one little flower in the entire garden? It's right here. Flowers, they can be small or they can be big, but compared to an entire garden, well, a flower is probably smaller than a whole big garden. I am, giggles the cloud to the kite. Look, do you see the kite? Man, I haven't flown a kite in so long. I can't even remember the last time that I flew a kite. Have you ever flown a kite before? It can be a lot of fun, but guess what? A cloud in the sky, it's definitely bigger than a kite. I am, hums the pan to the grain of rice. Do you know what a grain of rice is? Well, if you've ever eaten rice, well, sometimes there's like a little piece of rice. That's called a grain of rice. And look, compared to the pot is huge. And the grain of rice is super tiny. You can barely even see it. It looks like a white dot. I am, meows the kitten to the ball. I don't know. What do you think? Is the kitten bigger than the ball? Maybe. That one is a little more tricky because the ball does look kind of round and a little big, but the cat is longer. So, which one is the biggest? I guess it's the cat. The cat looks a little scared or startled. Its eyes are really big, like this. You know, when you get scared and your eyes get big, that's kind of almost how this cat looks. That's what it reminds me of. Let's see what's next. I am, size my umbrella to the raindrop. Look at this cool umbrella. And look at the one little raindrop. Do you see it? It's right here. This entire story is just about comparing two different things and figuring out which one is the biggest. And this umbrella is definitely bigger than one drop of rain. But look closely at the umbrella. It has some cool shapes on it. I see two different types of fruits. Do you see the fruits? I see a pear. Oh, pears are so delicious and sweet. And there's also an apple. And apples are tasty too. Let's see what's next. Who's the biggest? Me or this book? Well, who's the biggest? I am. I'm the biggest. I don't know. The book looks bigger than this kid's hand. I don't know about this one. I think the book might be bigger. What do you say? Wow, the story's already over. Today's story was so fast. Guess what? I think we have a chance to review. Do you know what that means? That's when you go back and you look at everything that you already read. Today's story is called Who's the Biggest? And so on every single page, there are different animals, different objects, just different stuff. And we have to figure out which one is the biggest. And so let's take a quick look. Let's review. The elephant or the butterfly? Which one is the biggest? You guessed it, the elephant. The squirrel or the tree? Which one is the biggest? The tree. Which one is the biggest? The bear or the honey pot? The bear is the biggest. He's huge. Okay. Which one is the biggest? The hammer or the nail? Yes, the hammer. It's like really tall. And the nail is only like a little tall. Which one is the biggest? The mountain or the bear? Bears are pretty big, but compared to a mountain, the mountain's the biggest. Which one is the biggest? The goldfish or the fish bowl? The fish bowl is the biggest. Okay. Which one is the biggest? The ant or the leaf? Yep, the leaf is the biggest. Which one of these is the biggest? The bee, do you see it? Zzz. Or the flower? Which one is the biggest? The bee or the flower? Yep, the flower's the biggest. Look how huge it is compared to the tiny little bee. Who's the biggest? A flower or a garden? Well, guess what? The garden is the biggest. And there's the flower. It's like tiny. who's the biggest? A kite or a cloud? Look, who's the biggest? The kite or the cloud? The cloud is the biggest. Do you see it? I know you're going to figure this one out. Tell me, who's the biggest? A pot? See this big pan right here? This pan? Or a grain of rice? Do you see it? It's like super duper tiny. This pan or this pot, it's definitely the biggest. Who's the biggest? This cat or the ball? This one was a little tricky, but the cat is the biggest. It's like longer. All right. Who is the biggest? This umbrella or a raindrop? I know. The umbrella! The umbrella is bigger than like one little raindrop. Who is the biggest? This kid's hand or the book? This kid said that he's the biggest, but I don't know about that because the book looks bigger than his hands. Well, guess what? That is the end of today's story. And it's called Who's the Biggest? Thank you so much for watching Barbershop Books Storytime. If you want to learn more about Barbershop Books, you can visit our website at barbershopbooks.org. You can also connect with us on social media at Barbershop Books. Until next time, bye.